Welcome to this next episode of YouTube as we enter the second week of heat indexes above 90 degrees. We see the wolves are just going to lie low, and this is what it looks like from the backside of the den. That's Aiden coming out of the den. The den is about 20 degrees cooler. It's a concrete septic tank buried in dirt and rock, and inside it's just concrete walls and dirt floor. So it's a very good place for him to be able to stay out of the heat, and all wolves actually fit in there by USDA standards. We have to have den spaces that allow for every wolf to get up, turn around, and be able to lay down without touching another wolf. So we actually have two dens to be able to meet that USDA specs. But you can see here, Denali is coming out of the den right after Aiden. Aiden had actually buried a beaver inside the den, so we'll definitely have to take that out. One of the hot weather problems we have with beaver is that they do rot, and we get some maggots on it pretty quickly. So we'll go in and investigate that, give it a day or two, and oftentimes they eat it, so we don't have to worry about it before it gets too maggoty. That's the whole purpose of putting it in cool soil. So here, Aiden's doing a little defense towards Denali, and you can see all of this is just posturing, the growling, the direct stare, tail wag, and Aiden is good at it, and Denali's response is ears pricked and turned sideways and head tucked and presenting himself with the anal sink glands towards Aiden, so showing Aiden that respect, that Aiden is a dominant pack leader. And things have been a lot calmer. That clip, that episode about, I can't remember if it was last week or the week before that I posted in YouTube, where Aiden and Bolts just really had an aggressive encounter, that has calmed things down dramatically. We still have some food possession. Here's Luna. On a really hot day, we gave him frozen bone dust, and that's Luna guarding all the bone dust at the gate. See, her tail's a little tucked. She's a little uncomfortable with the fact that there's people at the window, there's people at the gate, there's wolves surrounding her trying to get to this bone dust, so she's doing a lot of threat displaying by growling. Staff are right there again, kind of keeping an eye on it, and we are seeing again some real strong food possession behavior from Luna. But as with any situation where you have a wolf who's a little bit more vulnerable, you always want to make sure you don't put the wolf into vulnerable situations. So up in the woods is where they're spending most of their time, and you can see the bug crawl through. We obviously still have bugs, but Luna and Bolts are still acting like pup mates. You know, the video I think I posted last week, I talked about maybe Bolts respecting her as the dominant female, but they go back and forth. Again, they're just yearlings, and so you're going to see mature behavior, and then you're going to see immature behavior. And with this clip, I'm not necessarily, I'm sure everyone knows what a defecating wolf looks like, but what I'm most interested in here is after the defecation, Bolts is going to do a little bit of a scrape, and that scrape is a status thing. So those little signs that he's getting a little more confidence. It's not a very good scrape, but it's a scrape, and it's kind of an excited little hop to it. But most of what they're doing is they're going to lie low in the upper part of the den. Here's Luna trying to dig a comfortable place to lay, and that Bolts just did a lunge jump towards her again, acting like pups and wrestling quite a bit. But heat and humidity makes for cranky wolves, and Luna just does not want to be bothered. That dark coat absorbs heat pretty well, so she needs to cool off, and so that's where they spend a fair amount of their time. It's a challenge for wolf care that we have to get them up several times a day. Basically what our plan is, because we are open from 10 to 5 right now, is we try to get them up after the 11 o'clock program. So if somebody came in at 10 and they went through the exhibit and the programs, that they'd be able to see them after the 11 o'clock program, and then the same thing at 1, the same thing at 3, and then we close at 5. Usually on their own, they're up and moving around by about 4:30. We do have afternoon meds. Luna is on a vitamin D supplement twice a day. Aiden is on a vitamin E and B supplement for his discoid lupus. And then now Malik, who I'll talk about in a bit, is on an afternoon antibiotic for a foot injury. So over in retirement, Grizzer obviously loving the scratching. When you start to get your winter coat on, and then you're spending a lot of time digging around the dirt trying to stay cool, that means you got dirt in your coat, and really likes the wolf care staff scratching that, and loves the wolf care staff with the longer fingernails. That'll give them that kind of get right down underneath that skin and get that scratch reflex satiated. So he's doing good, and like I said, we see a completely different wolf when we interact with him than when maybe somebody who's been through it behind the scenes sees him. He's just very, very nervous about strangers, but really, really comfortable with wolf care staff. And so this is a majority of what he gets when he interacts with wolves is full attention. There isn't a wolf here that gets more attention than Grizzer does. And also the opportunity to inspect any kind of issues. Of course, obviously he wouldn't have bite wounds from anybody, but he can still get himself in trouble with chain link fence, or I've been chasing a chipmunk lately who's decided to live life on the wild side and darts in and out of the wolf pen. So there's always that chance that he injures himself chasing prey. But for the most part, they dig in the soil, they find a cool spot and lie down. But they're also digging for caches, and this is a situation where Grizzer had cached some moose meat, some ground moose meat that we had given them small portions, and going back to them and getting them from the soil. They're actually better protected. If they just lay out, they're going to get hot, they're going to get stinky, and they're going to get maggots within a day. So cache food is much better for them, and that's a standard protocol. The ones that don't cache as much are the retirees, and I'm not sure what that is about, but usually this past 2 weeks we've now taken food out twice that we fed more than they could consume or they wanted to consume in the heat, and we lost it to the maggots. So part of the job is making sure that everybody gets enough food, but also making sure that we don't waste food. Food is a short commodity here, so we always want to make sure that we have plenty of roadkill available, plenty of beaver, and if it is a hot spell, we'll switch to a smaller food item like chicken or beef that we know that they'll consume and not sit around. So, but fortunately, a storm moved through last night. Temperatures, about 10 minutes post the storm, dropped by about 15 degrees. So we're probably in the waning parts of that heat advisory. Again, September can still be hot, but nights are going to cool down. And as you can see, the winter coats are coming in. Grizzer's got a nice thick winter coat. And here he is chewing off some sinew on a bone that is in a cache that he found. So that's life with Grizzer. As I mentioned earlier, we did have an issue with Malik earlier in the week. On Monday, we noticed that he was not weight-bearing on his front left foot and had a significant pain response when I tried to touch his foot. Was very agitated, growling, trying to let me look at that front left foot. He's also not that big of a fan of mine. He prefers other wolf care staff to interact with him. So what we did was we took Shadow out. Shadow got moved over into Grizzer's pen, and then let some of the staff in that Malik is a little more accustomed to, a little bit more interested in. And took a look at it, and it does appear to be a tear between the toes. Hard to heal. Those paw tears are really hard. Don't know if it was between a little scuffle over some meat that maybe got a grab bite that tore his foot, or could have got it caught on a branch. He does go underground in a den that's got a lot of roots. He could have got a toenail caught on that and tore in between his pads. But it's a hard place to heal, and he's constantly licking it. So we put him on antibiotics. We have twice-a-day antibiotics for 10 days. We also have got some pain killers, anti-inflammatory to make him a little more comfortable when he rests. And it's just going to be a matter of time. It's not something we can stitch. It's just a matter of time for him to heal. Actually, by Wednesday, he was much better. And we do see him again utilizing that heavy cover in the back. And I'm doing okay. Again, it's always hard on these older animals because any amount of discomfort, is hard for the older ones. So we have been giving frozen meat. Like I said, when it's 90 degrees, we need to help them stay cool. We may miss them. We may give them frozen meat so that they have something to chew on. This is Shadow eating some of that frozen meat. But most of the time, again, they're just resting, and we're keeping these dens right now just with dirt, not putting a lot of chips on them. If chips do kind of warm them up, so if we can just keep them on dirt and concrete, that works out well. I'd like a little bit more dirt so that their elbows aren't on concrete. But hot and miserable is best the way to describe, especially these older 13-year-old wolves. Humidity is just extremely hard. Wolves don't cool themselves by sweat glands. They cool themselves by panting, and on a humid day you can pant or you can sweat all day long and you just get very little relief. So like I said, we had a storm go through last night, predicted to be highs in the 70s, and hopefully fall is on its way, and for the wolves' sake, fall is the best time of the year. And so that's about it for this week's YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll keep you posted on Malik's foot, but he's on the mend, and everybody else is feeling good. So see you next week.